The Centre and the NTA in their Supreme Court affidavits have claimed there were no major paper leaks during the NEET exam. What happened were only localized cases. But the controversy around the exam process raises questions on the sanctity of the pen and paper exam method. Now, interestingly, the NTA also conducts the IIT entrance exams, but leaks are never reported in these premier engineering exams. What are the methods used in the IIT exams that ensures there is no controversy? And what can NTA learn from these exams? Well, to discuss this with me, I have this evening V. Ram Gopal Rao, Group Vice Chancellor, BITS Pilani and former Director, IIT Delhi, Dr. C.V. Sharma, Educationist and Professor of Education, IGNOU, and in the studio I have with me my colleague Justin Thomas. Justin, over to you first. You've been researching this story on the NEET for the past week. How is it that you have the same exam body, the NTA, conducting both the IIT exams and the NEET exams, and yet you don't have leaks in the IIT, and there are leaks galore, it seems, in the NEET exams?
Exactly. So, when it comes to the IIT exams, the major difference between IIT and NEET is that the IIT is the computer-based exams,
Right.
which means that everything is online, everything is happening by the system. IIT has tied up with TCS to provide the systems. So, the challenges that may be different for the online exams, but the major challenge that the pen and paper exam based was that there were a lot of options during the process from the question paper is started till it reaches the exam center and the preparation until the scanning process for the results are gone. There are multiple points where these question paper can be leaked or the answer sheets can be compromised. So that's the difference where NTA is facing, because in the IIT exam also the IIT board itself handles a lot of its part, including the advanced exams and all the general exams. So when it comes to NEET, it's the sole authority, and also the fact that it is not autonomous, it doesn't really have those real powers that UGC would really have.
Absolutely. Let's ask Mr. Ram Gopal Rao this. Mr. Rao, how is it that the NTA conducts these exams, the NEET exams? It's leaking all the time, it looks like, whereas the IIT exams, there's absolutely no problem with the G. What is it that the IIT does differently?
I also think NEET needs to do things a little bit differently. A sort of a two-stage exam like IITs.
Yes.
In the IIT exam, the first level JEE mains is conducted by NTA, and that's conducted for about 12 lakh students.
Right.
And so that there is still marking and all that because for 12 lakh students you cannot do an online exam today. The online you can do maximum for about 2 lakh students.
Right.
But then they conduct it, multiple sessions and all of that and do some normalization. But and then what IITs do is take about 2 lakh students out of this JEE mains and then conduct a separate exam, which is completely computer-based, a single-time examination.
Right.
That is the advanced examination. So that is what eventually needs to happen. So the NEET exam also needs to be, there is a NEET mains and then there is a NEET advanced.
Right.
The NEET advanced exam can actually, be used for, needs to take, let's say 2 lakh or 2.5 lakh students from the NEET mains, which can be an objective exam conducted, let's say some 20 times, over 2 months kind of a period, completely on. And then, out of those students, you pick up those who have got above a certain cutoff and then conduct for a more thorough exam, which is organized by AIMS themselves. The difference in the case of IITs is the JEE Advanced is completely conducted by IITs. There is no role of NTA at all. And because IIT is conducted, there is a lot of seriousness that goes into that exam. The faculty involvement is very high.
Yes.
The entire exam is conducted by the faculty. And I think that's a kind of the high stakes involved in that exam, the reputation of IITs and 23 IITs sitting together, making all the decisions, for example, giving grace marks and all of that. That kind of a process in IITs would have been, such a thoroughly evaluated kind of a process.
Absolutely.
Not somebody giving some grace marks to some students based on some Supreme Court ruling. That would never have happened in the JEE Advanced exam. Which is completely conducted by the IITs. I think it needs to move to a two-level kind of an exam, like in the like in the IIT or the JEE process, I think that will solve many of these problems.
Needs a relook, a two-stage exam, as Mr. Ram Gopal Rao has said. But Dr. Sharma, how will this two-stage exam be implemented for NEET? You think it's the need of the hour? And how will it be conducted?
Look, what I believe is that we really need to have a relook at the NEET exam and reassess the performance. The NEET exam is organized in one go because of the Supreme Court order that came in 2019 or so. The Supreme Court said that you will have only one exam for admission to all medical college, including private medical colleges. So no college is holding its own exam. You will remember in the past, there were many colleges, many institutions which had their own exams. So the Supreme Court will have to review its order. The government in turn should review how it happened, why it happened, and approach the Supreme Court, because now the government also doesn't have the option to hold many exams or two-stage exam. I'm quite in favor of two-stage exam, but as I said, Supreme Court will have to do that. Second is that, look, there are more students appearing for medical colleges, and you have already mentioned this, that there are only about 1,20,000 seats in medical colleges. So it becomes a very high-stake exam, and every time, very large number will definitely not be considered for admission. So that number is crucial, and that makes all the difference. Third, what I believe is the leaking. It's not rampant, it's not nationwide. It's on small scale, localized, and what I call it's a criminal conspiracy. It's not leak, it's a criminal conspiracy between a couple of people, and in some locations, in this case, Godhra or Patna or Hazaribagh, that looked into through the criminal perspective and not really calling a leak. Unfortunately, I have mentioned one fact, and which I will mention again, that last time all this happened because the parliament was to meet and the elections had taken place. I had said 4th July, everything will die down. You will see the dwindling of the debate on NEET. Again, Parliament is coming on 22nd August. Let us not make it a political issue. We need to look into it from the academic perspective and find a good assessment process for it.
Absolutely, and that seems to be the larger aim, of course, to find a process to fix the examination systems and keep it free of politics. But Justin, do you agree with what Dr. Sharma was saying, that these are localized leaks, and the fact that there seems to be some politics involved here because the Parliament being in session and all of that.
But that's politics is obvious. That's because that's their opposition's job to raise issues
like
which matters, resonates with, and NEET being such an exam which touched so many middle class families across the country, and also a lot of people, aspiring people who are trying to get into a good life. So that resonates with the opposition for them to take it out. But at the same time, there needs to be if we say it's a localized issue, the CBI probe is going on right now. It's being hinted as a localized thing. So we have to wait a bit more. And not, but at the same time, the students are demanding, they are making a lot of noise. But whether the court will agree to that or not, we'll come to know in the next few days.
Absolutely. And the ball is back in the court of the Supreme Court, if you can say that, because 18th July is when the Supreme Court meets again, convenes on this very same issue, and the fact that it was a Supreme Court verdict that actually forced the government to hold one single examination. You see a possibility of the Supreme Court kind of reversing that verdict and going back to what Dr. Rao was suggesting.
That's highly, because the logistics involved in having a re-exam right now in this year itself will be humongous. So that I don't think the system is prepared for that. System wasn't prepared for 2.4 million at the first go. How is that possible again? So it unlikely that Supreme Court orders a re-NEET, but definitely what is expected that they are going to pull up the NTA and the government to ensure that this is not repeated. Because that is very important, because you have so many families, people involved, their lives involved, future involved, and you cannot take that lightly because such cases come.
Right, absolutely. So it's a very difficult decision that the Supreme Court will have to take, as Mr. Rao mentioned. The ball is back in the court of the Supreme Court on the 18th of July. What do you think, Mr. Rao, that the court could actually decide? Will it call for a re-NEET, or will they actually say it was a localized thing and it should be dealt with? It's a very they're on a razor's edge here.
Yeah, I think, but I think going by the IIT Madras report, where they seem to have analyzed the data from all the centers, a large number of centers, and compared the results this year from the previous year, and then seem to have concluded based on data that it's primarily because of the reduction in the syllabus, which
Yes.
has resulted in so many students, getting those high marks. That's what the IIT Madras data seems to be suggesting. I think if court goes by that data, then there may not be any re-examination. That's my impression right now. But then if somebody questions that data, I haven't looked at it carefully, how much of analysis has gone into that. But if somebody questions the data itself, then
Yes.
probably Supreme Court might have another round of collection of data and analysis and all that, and the decision can go either way. But I think whatever it is, we need to decide quickly. I think the
Yes.
students are waiting. The academic year is already getting delayed.
Yes,
I think
the clock is ticking. Yes, absolutely. Dr. Sharma, what do you think that Supreme Court will say exactly a week from today? It's a tough choice before them. And 2.4 million families are literally looking at the Supreme Court today, and they're in, their lives hang in the balance.
No, very correct. The Supreme Court will rely on the data given to them and the
Yes.
report of the CBI or investigating agency. But what I believe is that the government should immediately get research done. What we are saying is that all such exams have become very high-stake exams.
Yes.
Now, there are two aspects of it. One is the law, the other is the fear of the punishment. If the fear of the punishment is not severe, then you tend to break law. And I think this is happening in this case. The stake is very, very high.
Yes.
I mean, you should realize those who did this in Bihar clearly shows they are not afraid of the law. They are not afraid of the police. Two
Yes.
things I will suggest: get a good research study done from your institutions, your universities, your IIT, or whichever.
Right.
How can we have an alternative system, because this is not working? When the
Yes.
Supreme Court gave its judgment that there should be one exam, that was very justified.
Right.
I have heard the director of AIMS telling, I had personally run to 7-8 cities to write my exam, and I missed a couple of exams because I couldn't cope with all the exams. That
Right.
should not happen again. Let us not misinform the Supreme Court that your decision was wrong. Its decision was very justified,
Right.
because so many poor students could not appear for the exam because there were multiple exams. So we
Right.
should not put pressure on Supreme Court through our discussions on such platform,
Right.
which I am sure the government as well as the Supreme Court hears. We must say good judgment that there should be one exam, but how it should be conducted, that must be looked into. We must do a research on what we have done in the past and come up with an alternative, which we must suggest to the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
Let us not throw the baby with the bathwater,
Right.
because this was a good judgment. And let us also put pressure on the government, which I'm
Yes.
sure it is doing. I mean, what I hear and I see, and the minister all the time giving the statement, the government is very particular about it, and it is taking tough decisions. So, what I would say, make the law more tougher and give quick punishment.
Absolutely.
Because people get restless.
Right.
And then the belief in the government falls and dwindles.
Yes, absolutely. The exemplary punishment needs to be given out in this case. And Justin, as Dr. Sharma was saying, that it's a high stakes game, and that's the reason that people are willing to go to the lengths that they did across the country. You have these small gangs of organized leakers, if you can call them that, who've kind of tried to pilfer out all those papers in that graphic that you put together for us. But tell us what the Supreme Court could really be looking at now. Is it a reform of the exam system that they could suggest, or will they just keep it confined to this year's NEET 2024?
I think the spotlight is definitely on NTA right now.
Right.
NTA, how NTA should go about conducting future exams. I think that's the focus that Supreme Court is going to take.
Yes.
Because what has happened right now, and from the reports that are coming in, it suggests it's localized. But the question is, should it happen in the local itself?
Right.
That's the point that the
And a
Supreme Court is
localized thing in an interconnected world.
All the how NTA conducts the exams, what's the process?
Yes.
Do they have the personnel to conduct the process, and do they have the powers in the first place? Because NTA is it's not an autonomous body; it reports to the government, to the ministry, specifically ministry. So, does ministry needs to be so hands-on on this, or NTA needs to be given more powers to
more
ensure
autonomy
to ensure that they are able to conduct exams properly? And the buck stops with the NTA. Right now, it's like either NTA, it's government is going around like that.
A lot of finger pointing, and that's the NEET mess that we are discussing today, and it's over to the Supreme Court, which sits in on decision most likely on the 18th of July. But thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Ram Gopal Rao, Dr. Sharma, and my colleague Justin Thomas, for that burning issue of the NEET mess and what lessons we can learn for a better leak-proof examination system.